What's going on, gang? It's your boy 4T Tone. Everything that we do is for God, and this is Athletic Money. In this channel, we'll go ahead and just allow you to understand ways that you can grow in your faith, your family business, and your finances. Right now, we're going to go ahead and look at Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. But was he the best or greatest owner of all time? No. But businessman, crazy businessman. You really don't, how do I say this? You don't understand the scale of how much of a smart and savvy business mind he is. Obviously, we understand his shoe deal with Nike, but even thinking about that and how he took it to another level. I know he did it with Phil Knight, and I know he was a superstar in himself, but he still was able to play the game to where he just came out on top, and he's continuing to come out on top every single year. And you look at the comparisons with other shoe companies and people that have shoe brand deals, they don't last like Michael Jordan does. So whoever's in his corner or whoever he learned from or however he's moving, he's doing it the best way you can and the greatest to ever do it. He may be the best businessman as a basketball player as well, or as a former basketball player as well. That's something I like to argue. Because if you do compare to it, how can you, LeBron, he's talked about all the time and compared to Michael Jordan, but I haven't seen anybody wearing his shoes out in public anymore. They used to be hot. I remember we was wearing them in 11th grade, 10th grade, back in like 2012. Everybody had LeBrons. But for some reason, it's lost its juice, his shoes. You look at a whole bunch of different NBA players as well. You look at Allen Iverson with them questions, lost his juice. Obviously, you can compare how iconic each basketball player was, but no one's been able to sustain success like Michael Jordan. So I would argue, and then you can argue with me as well, yes, even though with his stature and his iconic view and his success in the NBA, him being like a Michael Jackson, the most famous athlete ever, you can also say he's been the best businessman along with that. And if you want to argue with me, but I want to put it out there and say it, because if you see what he just did now with the Charlotte Hornets, he knows something that we don't, obviously. Right? But let's look into it and then dissect it a little more as we go. All right. So in this article here, this is from NBA.com. I already read it and they go hard on it. Like, they don't hold anything back. They kind of talk smack about him in this article, and it's NBA.com. So I guess they're not fans of him selling the team or the majority stake in the teams. And then we'll talk about majority stake. That means he has majority ownership. He never really had full ownership of the team. He just had majority, right? So if you were to have a team and it's divided among 3 people, he probably had 34% and everybody else had 33% or less. So he had majority stake. So if the team was valued at $3 billion now and he had 50% stake in that team, he had $1.5 billion in ownership. That's how much he had worth of the team. Okay. He actually previously sold a minority stake in the team a few years back, maybe a year or 2 ago. So he knew what was going on. He incrementally does his thing. Like, he's a businessman. He knows he's not stupid, obviously, but he's also very understanding about assets, liabilities, opportunities, and he's not going into it blind or just taking a risk without researching a team. Like, he has people in his corner that's giving him really good information, or he's just understanding it on a new level. Because he sold a minority stake about a couple years ago, and really, in my honest opinion, he's just testing things out to see, okay, what can the value of this team be if I sell a minority stake? You know, the team's not doing well. I've been the owner of it for the past 10 to 12 years. We suck. But the value of the team is still going up. If this is a money game, and if people understood that it was a money game, Michael Jordan is winning, no matter the record. Let me tell you why. He actually bought the team in 2010, and as we can see now, for $275 million. 275 mil. Now, after 13 years, he's able to sell it for $3 billion, majority stake. So dissecting that, like, is that an L? Even though he had the worst record in the league, never won a playoff series, didn't even come close to a championship, did he still lose in this deal? He 10 times his investment, multiplied his investment. It's really, I would consider it a dub. Now, he is from Wilmington, North Carolina. He has North Carolina in his blood. He went to UNC Chapel Hill. Boo. Go Pack. You feel me? NC State, you already know what's going on. If you beefing with me, you beefing with me. So I can understand that he's invested a little bit more than just his money. He invested time. There was some effort in order for him to go ahead and try to get the best players that he can. People would disagree on that. But he got LaMelo, he got LaMelo Ball. He got a few all-stars that I can't really name because, I wasn't really paying attention to the Hornets like that. But I remember the Bobcats, though. The Bobcats was nice. But yeah, let's continue reading the article and seeing what's going on here. We also have an interesting person that might be buying the Hornets as well, which I think is a good play. But is he as savvy as Michael Jordan? Is he doing it just for emotional reasons rather than logic? Seems like MJ, he knew what he was doing the whole time. Okay, so let's read it. Michael Jordan is finalizing a deal to sell the majority share of the Charlotte Hornets. The franchise announced Friday leaving the 30-team NBA without any black majority ownership. Now, this is a big deal, and a lot of people would say that it's a systemic reason. Is throughout history, we haven't been able to really break into the opportunity to be financially able to buy certain teams for billions of dollars. For example, the richest black man in the world is worth $14 billion, and Elon Musk is worth $270 billion. So the comparison is vast. Jeff Bezos is going ahead and looking at buying the Washington Commanders. I don't know if he did or not, but his net worth is over $100 billion, and the closest that we have is Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z, and they're only valued at most at $1 to $2.5 billion, which is still a lot of money, but not enough money, especially liquid money that you can now put on the table and say, here you go, available. In order to buy these kind of teams, you need liquid assets on hand. You need about $2 billion on hand, $1 billion on hand, and the black community doesn't have that. So the majority ownership of black people is none as of right now. That doesn't mean that we cannot obtain that in the near future. We see things are shifting, we see things are changing, and I'm excited to see where we're going. I think the trajectory looks great. The future looks bright. Shout out to Patrick Bet-David. But as of right now, there's none in the NBA that has majority leadership or majority ownership. And I think that's why the NBA is going kind of hard on them, because they lay it out all on the line, the history of the Charlotte Hornets. So let's read the statement. Hornet Sports and Entertainment announced today that Chairman Michael Jordan has reached an agreement to sell his majority stake in the Charlotte Hornets to a group led by Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall. As part of the transaction, Jordan will retain a minority ownership share of the team. The transaction is subject to the approval of the NBA Board of Governors. So I didn't know that. He's actually selling majority, but still having minority stake, which means that he's not going to be the one that has over 50% ownership of the team. He'll probably have, 1 to 20 or something like that. But someone else wants to come in and also be an owner of the Charlotte Hornets, which is an incredible, feat, especially for this person. We're going to get detail in a little bit. Let's continue reading. Let's see here. In the same way that it's wonderful that one of our greatest, Michael Jordan, could become a principal governor of a team, he has the absolute right to sell at the same time, which is very true. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said earlier this month at the NBA Finals, values have gone up a lot since he bought that team. So that is his decision. It's true, it was an investment. I don't know if he viewed it as an investment back then, but understanding how he worked with Nike and Phil Knight and has been able to stay on top of the clothing brand, the shoe game for decades, is that he knew that this was an investment either way. It's just like buying a home. Obviously, he didn't really take care of the home that well. He tried, but he's still able to sell it for a certain amount of times more than he bought. It's a wonderful investment that he made, and he still has ownership in it. He's getting out clean, boy. This is a huge dub in this whole transaction. The sales price wasn't immediately announced, but to compare it, the most recent sale of an NBA team was Mash Ishbia, and he bought the Phoenix Suns at a deal when it struck in December, valued at $4 billion. So if you agree, I think I agree that these Phoenix Suns, especially that's a dope city, it's in Arizona, is probably valued higher than the Charlotte Hornets. I actually agree with that. I think it's a better franchise, a lot of history, obviously a better winning record, a lot of good players that came through there. So I understand that. So Charlotte being at $3 billion is actually, that's pretty good compared to what the Phoenix Suns are. And it says, for as great as Jordan was on the court, national champion at North Carolina, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 6-time NBA champion, in the never-ending conversation for best player ever, the Hornets have reached a championship level during his time they never reached a championship level during his time as the owner. Charlotte went 423 and 600 in his 13 seasons in charge, the 26th best record over that span. It never won a playoff series in that time and hasn't even been to the postseason in the last 7 seasons. Other members of the new potential Hornets ownership group pending their approval are recording artist J. Cole. Now, please put in the comments below how this is going to be and how this is going to impact just the sports world, and having J. Cole and Michael Jordan ownerships, or being partial owners or minority owners of an NBA team. Just because they're not majority owners doesn't mean they still have partial ownership in it, right? What kind of new vibe, what kind of new venues, what kind of music they're going to play at the games, what kind of concert tickets are they going to sell out at the Hornets? We don't know. J. Cole may have, and it's not only J. Cole as a recording artist, but it's also Eric Church, country singer. Now, I haven't listened to his music. I don't listen to his songs, but he's big time too, man. This is going to be really dope to seeing the new aspect of what this new ownership is going to bring to the team. Is it going to give it a better feel, a better vibe? Are they going to find a little bit more success? Did Michael Jordan think that he was done trying to lead a team to a better record? You know, there was one time that you heard that Michael Jordan was cussing his players out on the sideline. I don't know if I know he hit Steve Kerr, but I don't know if he hit some of his players. He probably would have got a lawsuit. But it's awesome. We're going to keep reading here just to see it as an interesting point right here. Along with the Hornets, the HSE, the Hornets Sports Entertainment ownership, includes the NBA G League's Greensboro Swarm and NBA 2K League's Hornets Venom GT, as well as managing and operating the Spectrum Center, each of which is included as part of the sale. So it's lit up. You can do a lot in a stadium, right? PNC Arena here in Raleigh, North Carolina, they sell it out all the time with Taylor Swift pulling up. Lizzo pulled up the other week. Travis Scott went crazy at the roller coaster in the PNC. You can do a lot within these basketball stadiums and arenas. So, they have options now. Whoever the new owner is, they can do a lot in it. When Jordan, who grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina, purchased majority ownership of the team, it created a great amount of buzz. Pun intended. It's funny, they didn't even put the pun intended they needed. That's a L for missing that. But the Hornets' struggles and inability to turn things around bothered Jordan. The first inclination that he was looking to get out of the NBA ownership business came in 2020 when he sold minority stake to Plotkin and Sudhim. So they were just playing it out. They were just seeing, okay, if we can actually get this done, what are we going to do? Are we really, do you see a potential in it? Do you want to leave, Michael? Okay, let's go ahead and just, we have time. It's not like you have to get out of it now. It's not like we have to buy it now, but let's go ahead. Let's pique some interest. So they were just testing the waters then. The Hornets are coming off an injury-plagued 27-55 season and hold the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. Victor Wembanyama is expected to go first overall on Thursday night, leaving Charlotte with the choice of either guard league star Scott or Scoot Henderson or Alabama's Brandon Miller. Charlotte's biggest star is LaMelo Ball, and the team still has some decent foundational parts to build around them, including Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, and Mark Williams. The team starting center who played well last year as a rookie. Jordan was often criticized as an owner for not spending enough in free agency to make the Hornets competitive. He took over a team in 2010 that had won 44 games the year before and had been swept by the Orlando Magic in the first round, and it went downhill from there. So again, this is NBA writing this article, so they're going kind of hard on him. Charlotte, still the Bobcats at the time, was 34-48 the first year under Jordan, and then an NBA worst 7-59 that following year, which is interesting because I thought they played 82 games, and that don't add up to 82. But despite the abysmal record, Charlotte failed to land the number 1 pick in the NBA draft lottery and Anthony Davis. I don't really think that it would have been much of a difference if they got him. Charlotte got back to the playoffs in 2013 and 14, but was swept by the Heat. And then 2 years later, they was swept by the Heat again in the first round. But they weren't swept, but it was in 7 games. In 7 years since, Jordan's Hornets have had only one winning season and have twice exited early in the play-in tournament as the 10th seed. Charlotte has not won a playoff series since the 2001-2002 season and has never won an NBA championship. So, just looking at that article, it was only one, but it gives us a lot of information on what Jordan was not necessarily thinking, but a little bit of the history. Had he already sold minority stake, which was a percentage of the team back in the day. He knew the value of it, at least back when he first bought it in 2010, and it just grew ever since. Would you say this is an L for Jordan? He's past 13 years. Would you say this is an L for him? I'm pretty sure you could say L as a learning experience, but I think it's a W. He's selling it with more value. He's still a minority shareholder, so he still gets some share of the revenue. He's adding on J. Cole and Eric Church to have a little bit of a different dynamic to it. It just seems like a W play. W Michael Jordan, and that's all he really knows, man. It's W's. He don't really know anything else. So, again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Athletic Money. In this channel, the 4G Network, we go ahead and talk about how we can grow our faith, our family business, and our finances. And I love analyzing what these current athletes and former athletes do after they obtain a crazy amount of money and what kind of plays they make. Because you can go either two ways. You can go up or down. You can't be stagnant. And from what we see, a lot of decisions you make can lead to you achieving things that you never thought was obtainable or even higher and more beyond. And we could see here that Michael Jordan is a all-star in all facets of what he does. Shout out to him. He's officially the GOAT in my eyes, because this is just as important as winning the championship. All right, love, peace, and healing to everybody out there. Appreciate you tuning in. This is your boy 4G Tone, and this is Athletic Money. Deuces.